A great alternative to in-person events is virtual events. So in this video we'll focus on how you can set up your own virtual events. So with the recent outbreak of the coronavirus, it's very hard to keep doing in-person events. You know, people don't want to go to public places, people might be restricted, there's company policies that come into play. And B2B events are a very important strategy to generate leads for, B2B companies. So, of course, as a marketer, you need to reduce the impact that a virus like this makes on your business. And a great alternative to do this is by hosting virtual events. So today, let's focus on how to set up your virtual event. The first step in setting up your virtual event is to define the ultimate goal of your virtual event. If you don't understand what your goal is, then it's going to be almost impossible to make a very good plan. So with your ultimate goal, you have to define your success metrics. So this can be pipeline generated, but there's maybe also other stakeholders at your company that have interest in your virtual event. So maybe for marketing, it's marketing qualified leads generated. For your sales, it might be business generated, and maybe for your customer success team, it might be the churn that you have been able to reduce through this virtual event. So the first step is always to define your ultimate goal. So the second step is to outline your plan of your virtual event. So you need to ask questions such as, which hosting platform am I going to use? Do I have the right equipment? Which design assets do I need? How are we going to do the promotion of this event? And so on. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask, and outlining your plan is a critical part of setting up a virtual event, because without a good plan, it's not going to work. The third step is to make sure that you have the right equipment. Of course, you need the right hosting platform for your virtual event. So there's a lot of options that you can do. If you want a webinar format, you can choose platforms such as GoToWebinar or perhaps On24. But if you want to have an interactive virtual event, because let's be honest, an important aspect of in-person events is the ability to network. And actually this is something that you can replicate with a virtual event, but you need the right tools. So a tool to set up virtual events in which you can also network with other people is, for example, Zoom. So Zoom is a tool that I use a lot for this type of thing, and it works wonders. Also, you will need a lot of technical equipment. Well, actually not so much. Basically, you need a good microphone, you need a good camera, you need some headsets, and you need some lighting. If you have this, basically you have everything you need in terms of technical equipment and your hosting platform to set up your virtual event. Actually, I will leave a couple of links down in the description of some technical equipment that I personally use to set up virtual events. The fourth step is to develop the content, but most importantly, invite the speakers. Because when I go to an event, I look which speakers are going to that event. Because I'm interested in their story, I'm interested in their experience, and personally I like the speakers more than the content. But the two are important. So you need to have high quality content, but you also need to have exceptional speakers, and preferably speakers with a reputation. So if you have this, if you have the right content and the right speakers defined, you can now move on to the next stage. The next stage is, of course, promoting the virtual event. So, there's a lot of things that you can do to promote a virtual event. Of course, you have your email marketing, you have programmatic advertising, but you should also enable your sales team to invite their prospects or their named accounts. And how you can do this is by providing a sales kit. Right? So in a sales kit, there's content such as an email template, an explanation of the virtual event and what's in it for them and why they should invite people. So always include that, and give them some targets. It's also a good idea to invite your partner ecosystem. So oftentimes in B2B organizations, you work together with other companies. So use your partner ecosystem to get them to promote your virtual event as well. And maybe you can include them, maybe you can ask them to speak at your event, so they'll be more incentivized to promote the virtual event. But you can also use chatbots on your website. So chatbots are a great way to promote your virtual event. So when people come to your website and they meet your criteria for the virtual event, just send them a chat message on your website and promote the virtual event. You can also use employee advocacy to create some awareness for your event. So I use tools such as LinkedIn Elevate to post content that my employees can share. The sixth step is to do a dry run. With a virtual event, there's not a lot of things that can go wrong, but there's some risk here and there. Of course, you need to test your equipment, like your camera, your microphone, your headset, but also you need to make sure that you have a stable internet connection. And it's always good to do a test, right? So if you give a presentation at an in-person event, you're going to do a couple of dry runs as well. With a virtual event, it's the same. You need to be testing your virtual events, you need to test your equipment, and of course you also need to understand the roles and responsibilities of various stakeholders in the virtual event. So you might have an MC, you might have someone that does the introduction, and then you have your main speakers. But also, if you create the ability for people to network, you might want to create some breakout rooms, and you might have to test the functionality of that. So always do a dry run. Game day, so the day of your actual virtual event. And within your virtual event, I always aim to make it as engaging as possible. So, promote the ability to network, make things interactive, ask poll questions, and really try to engage your audience. So a thing that I have done is, I've asked my attendees of the virtual event to send me their address or their company address, and I just sent lunch to them. So the virtual event was during lunch hour, and I sent every participant lunch so they can interact with us throughout the virtual event. And this actually drove a great response. Also, it improved their experience, but also we received a lot of nice social media posts that increased our awareness. And the last step is analytics and follow-up. So analytics, of course, is very important because you want to show management and your sales team the leads that you have generated and the leads that you have generated for specific account owners. So I've created a video on how to create a B2B event dashboard, and the same applies for a virtual event. Basically, it's an event, but then virtually, right? So, I'll leave a link down in the description to the YouTube video that I made on how to create the perfect B2B event dashboard. But also, you need to enable sales to follow up. So provide them with the relevant information that they need and really chase them so that they're actually doing the following up. As an event owner, it's your responsibility that sales is actually following up on the leads generated. So chase them, make agreements with the sales directors, give them targets, etc. Analytics and event follow-up is the last step of a virtual event, but it is perhaps the most critical one. So that wraps up this video. Given the circumstances with the coronavirus, virtual events are a great alternative to in-person events. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, consider liking it and subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you next time.